Yeah, so do I. I like chocolate ice cream. So do I. 我也喜欢.
我也是，Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
yeah, 我也喜欢. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as that. Yeah. It just depends on what circumstance, what are you talking about?
Uh, no, I'm just just practice speaking English
Yeah,
and no topic.
I mean that phrase we use that phrase for certain things that we talk about, and we use other phrases for other things we talk about. So don't worry about it. Yeah, you're
Okay.
correct. Yeah, it's just 我也喜欢. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I will get off the stage and hope more people have more question to ask you.
Okay. Or I mean,
Okay.
you can ask me another question if you want to. There's plenty of time.
Mm.
I just got here, so it's okay. If you want to, do you have another question? What's another problem you have with English?
And sometimes I don't know how to you say it. How do you say in? You know, sometimes we talk um, uh, we are living in China.
Prepositions. Yeah,
That's
in,
right.
on, at, right? Those words, right? Many people have trouble with prepositions. Really, what you need to do is you need to just do a lot of practice. If you go to ChatGPT or to DeepSeek, you can ask that to make a preposition worksheet for you. Okay? It can make homework for you.
Okay.
And if you just practice, it just takes practice. There is no secret to prepositions. Prepositions are tricky, they're difficult because sometimes you can have more than one correct answer, right? So if I say, I'm at the store, that's correct. But I could also say, I'm in the store. That's also correct. That's different, though. It's telling a different information. 就是在商店里面, I'm in the store, right?
In a store.
Yeah, that's 就是里面的, right? But at 就是在的, right? 在, right? 我在, 中国,我在美国, right? So, prepositions, though, sometimes there's more than one answer that you could say depending on what you want to say, right? It can change a little bit. So, if I say I'm on the store, now that means I'm on top, right? So, yeah, above, right? Yeah. Yeah.
If 我在家, so I need to say I stay at home.
Yeah, I'm
in
at home. If you say I'm at home, 就是我在家. But if you say I'm in my home, 就是我在家里.
the same meaning.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but you're telling more. You're telling them more. You're saying I'm at home inside. Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm at home inside right now, but I could go outside to my yard, and then I'm still at home, but I'm not inside. Understand? So that's why it just tells you more information.
So yeah, many Chinese sometimes kind of how to say at in and and
it's a common problem. But it's really not very hard to learn. You just need to do enough practice. So, if you go online, you can do a search and search for preposition worksheets, or you can go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, please make 100 preposition exercises for me to practice in, on, at, all of those through, any of the prepositions that you have trouble with. Ask it to make a worksheet for you. And if you just do them, you'll get used to it. You'll understand soon. Okay? There are some general rules, but the best way to do it is just to practice it. And ChatGPT can explain that to you also. You can say, please explain prepositions, the prepositions in, on, and at, and make an exercise for me with 20 questions or 100 questions about in, on, at. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Yeah, and that's a common problem. Many, many, many people have problems with that. Okay.
So,
all right.
See you next time.
Okay.
Thank
all right.
you, teacher.
Take care, Sky. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The problem is that we'll give you different answers every time. You mean ChatGPT? At the hospital, in the hospital. Well, that's why I'm saying, Crystal, that's why prepositions are difficult, is because if you say I'm in the hospital and you say I'm at the hospital, technically those two, well, they're both correct, and they both describe almost exactly the same thing in that case. I'm at the hospital, I'm in the hospital. The only difference would be if you say I'm in the hospital, usually that means I am sick or I'm hurt and I'm in the hospital being looked at by the doctors. If you say I'm at the hospital, it just means I'm there. Maybe you're not sick, you're visiting someone. But they're both correct. And technically, you could, in some cases, swap those out interchangeably to say, I'm at the hospital, I'm in the hospital. Somebody, maybe somebody calls you and says, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come over really quickly? And if you said, well, I'm at the hospital right now, that would be okay. And depending on your tone, the tone that you give might tell the person, well, you're not sick. You said it in a very calm, casual way. So it must be okay. If you said, well, I can't because I'm at the hospital right now and there's a big problem. Well, now you know that they're sick or there's some injury, right? So, if you're a doctor, you say you work at the hospital. Again, like I said, in most cases, yes. In some cases, I can see how you could say, I work in a hospital. Right? Like maybe they ask you to come to career day and you have to talk about being your job, being a doctor, right? And when they ask you, what do you do? Well, I work in the hospital or in a hospital. You could also say at a hospital or at the hospital. And all of those would describe nearly the same thing in that situation. That's why prepositions are difficult, because there are a few situations where they are completely interchangeable, like that one. Okay, in and on, in and at. Okay, but there are some where you definitely want to use one and not the other. Okay. Hello, everyone. Milma, which teacher is important to pronounce and speak? I think you mean which one is more important? Is pronunciation really important? What I will say is pronunciation is important because it has to be clear. But pronunciation doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be clear. So you can have an accent. There's nothing wrong with having an accent, as long as your accent is very clear when you speak. Okay, every accent in the world can be spoken with English clearly, but not everyone does. They need to sometimes work on their accent a little more to make it more clear and understandable. Okay? What's the difference between a pronunciation and accent? Pronunciation is the basics of how to say that language, right? The sounds, the parts of sound that go into that language. That's pronunciation, right? So P, 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 pa, 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 D, 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 da, 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 K, 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 right? A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, that's pronunciation. It's phonics, right? But accent is the way you pronounce based on some regional changes. Language changes, every language changes around the world by region. So when you go to Beijing, for example, the Chinese sounds different than when you go to the southern parts of China. They're still speaking Chinese, and it's still probably clear, but they have an accent. It's a regional accent, right? If you go to New York City, there are many people who have a different accent than I do, right? It's a regional way that language becomes changed by time and by fashion and by popularity, really. You know, the way that most people speak. Remember that language is something that we learn in school, but it's mostly something we learn by our environment. So if you hear people pronounce words in a certain way, that's the way you're going to pronounce them. That's accent. Okay? It might be pronounced differently in the dictionary, right? But the way they pronounce it locally, that's the way you hear it, so that's the way you're going to do it. Let's see. What else do we have here? Is grammar important on the IELTS? Yeah, of course it is. Are you kidding? Yeah, it's one of the most important parts of the IELTS. It shouldn't be, but it is. So yes, if you're taking the IELTS exam, then you must work on your grammar a lot. How many hours is enough for you to do listening? How many hours a day? That's all. That's different for everyone. It depends on your ability. It depends on your skill. It depends on your level and what you're working on. It depends on who you're listening to. If you're listening to someone who speaks well and who you understand well, that's better than listening to 6 hours of someone who speaks really quickly and poorly, right? So if you spend 20 minutes listening to someone who speaks well, that's better than spending 6 hours listening to someone who speaks poorly. So it's not about quantity of time. It's about quality of time. Okay? Can you use clairvoyant and psychic interchangeably? Ooh. Let me think about that for a moment. Clairvoyant and psychic. I think yes. It's been a long time since I've really looked at those definitions clearly, but I remember when I was a kid, I was very interested in paranormal things and paranormal psychology, and reading about clairvoyancy and telepathy and telekinesis and those things. So I think, yes, I think psychic is a more general term, but they are often used interchangeably. Okay? Flavia wants to come talk to me. It's been a long time. Let's talk to Flavia. Hello, Flavia. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm great. And you?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad the weather's turning nicer now. I had a terrible winter this winter. Some winters are just too dark and cold and depressing. But I'm glad the sun is out now and spring is here and summer will be here soon. So, yeah, I'm happier. So what can I do for
Here
you
in
today?
Brazil, it's pretty sunny.
Oh, yeah? But it's pretty sunny there
Yes.
most of the time, yeah?
Yes, we don't have snow as well, so
Right, that's
we
what I
don't
thought.
suffer with that.
Yeah. See, I don't have a terrible winter. I shouldn't complain too much because my winter is only about 3 months long, and really, it's only snowy for maybe 2, you know? But sometimes it's just, I don't know. Maybe I just need to get out more. But yeah.
Uh, I can say that as a tropical country, we don't have this problem.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I didn't have that problem when I lived in Taiwan either. It's a subtropical place in Taiwan and
It,
they don't have
it,
snow either. Yeah.
oh, they don't have it.
Mm-mm.
So I have some questions for you today, Mark.
Okay.
The first one is how to be better than an intermediate student.
Well, so I think that the secret of being an advanced student is always pushing yourself beyond your ability, and that should feel uncomfortable. So I think that to be advanced in anything, you need to be willing to feel uncomfortable because you need to be willing to push yourself to the limits of your ability. And when you are at the limits of your ability, it's never comfortable. It's like trying to ride a bike at the fastest speed that you can. At that speed, it's dangerous and you could lose control, right? So, but if you do it more and more, then you will get better and better, right? So, the problem that most people have is that they try to stay in their comfort zone. They stay too much in their comfort zone. They don't push themselves enough with reading or listening or writing or speaking in terms of trying to go beyond your ability. You know, reading is the number one way. Read things that are hard to read. Read things that push you to be better. You know, the rule of music as a musician is always surround yourself with people who are better than you, and you will always be better for it. So that means you should always try to be the worst one when you join a group. If you're the worst one, then you're going to learn the most, and you're going to gain the most experience from playing with those musicians. If you're the best one, then you can't really learn that much from that environment. So by that idea, that means that you should always be surrounding yourself with things that push you further, right?
And how should I push me further?
Well, what are you doing for reading right now?
Actually, I'm reading Harry Potter. Harry
Okay.
Potter.
All right, Harry Potter is good, but Harry Potter is not particularly difficult. So what I would say is read Harry Potter, but maybe push yourself a little bit by trying to read something that's a higher level, like academic level. For example, you could go to Scientific American. scientificamerican.com, I think it is. Let me find it here. Scientific American is a famous science magazine. It's been around for a long time, and they have academic level articles that are like IELTS Band 8, like very difficult, academic level English, right? Or just anything that's higher level, anything academic. Academic reading would be something I would suggest for you. If you're at the intermediate level, intermediate is Harry Potter. Advanced is academic. To be able to understand academic level English is advanced. So start trying to figure out how you can move closer to that, where can you find some more challenging reading? And Harry Potter is great, but those are books. That's big. I wouldn't recommend for you to read a really difficult book yet. No. Try to read articles or passages, just a part, not the whole book, right? So if you read just one part of Shakespeare, that's great, right? If you read just one part of Scientific American, maybe one paragraph, that'd be great. Try to read it and understand it. And it should be difficult. If it's not challenging if it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, it's not challenging you. Okay?
I also read comics for kids.
Okay, comics are good. But again, see, that's in your comfort level.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why people stay intermediate, is because they stay comfortable. You have to push yourself more.
I have some trouble to understand the news in English.
Okay, well, then keep trying. Keep trying. And you know what? This is another perfect example for ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT, link an article to ChatGPT, right? Link an article, a news article, and then tell ChatGPT, please explain this article to me. Or you can even ask it to rewrite this article 6 different ways. Write it at level A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So then you can see the same article, the same exact thing, but written very simply or very, very complicated. Okay? That would be good. If you can't understand the news, this is a great thing for ChatGPT. There are times when I try to read an article, like I read an article maybe 2 months ago about physics. And I'm very interested in physics, but it's very complicated, especially advanced physics like quantum mechanics and black holes and dark energy and time travel. These are really difficult concepts, but ChatGPT is great at explaining very difficult things in simple ways. And if you don't understand some vocabulary, you can ask it to explain it. So that would be one thing I would say is, push yourself to read some news. But to me, news is kind of like music, where I don't like every rock band. I like rock, but I don't like every rock band. There are some that I like the sound of this one, but I don't like the sound of that one. News is the same. So if you find some articles, it's writing. Writing is just like music. It's personal. So there are some people who write really well and some people who write really poorly. Okay, and these days it's getting worse, to be honest. I think that there are many times they just use ChatGPT or some AI to write everything, but it does make mistakes occasionally. So find someone who you do like the writing of. I think I've suggested to you before, NPR is a good place for news, I think. The writing quality of theirs is good, and the vocabulary level, I think, is good. It's challenging, but not too difficult. So if you go to, let me write it for you, npr.com. Although I don't know how long NPR is going to be around because they just lost all their funding. But anyway, Flavia, if you want to accelerate your learning, then you need to accelerate what you do. So for writing, you should figure out, again, ask ChatGPT to give you some advanced writing exercises, right? Create some advanced writing exercises for me, and then write them and ask it to evaluate your writing. Is my writing good? What level is my writing? What do I need to work on more? My vocabulary, my grammar, what's the problem, right? So ChatGPT is an excellent place to develop your writing, okay? Reading, we just talked about reading. Listening, same thing. Find things that are quality things to listen to. There are so many great podcasts to listen to about really interesting things. So for podcasts, find something that you love. You know, whatever your interests are, your hobbies are. There must be 100, podcasts about whatever you're interested in. And find some of the best ones and start listening to them, So reading, writing, listening, and then speaking. Give yourself some challenges, speaking challenges, right? So you have to imagine like you're an actor. Okay, you have to be an actor and you have to pretend, okay, I'm going to give a speech in front of my school, or I'm going to speak at the local school council meeting, or I'm going to speak to my my grandparents about retirement, right? Something like that. Give yourself some different contexts to try to speak in, and then practice those things. Practice speaking like that. And technically, that is another one. You can do that with ChatGPT. You can tell it, I would like to practice speaking with you. Can you evaluate my speaking? And it should be able to. I'm curious what it will say. So you should try.
All right. Mark, this last Monday, I was at college, and my teacher said some words that I think she pronounced wrong. Can you tell me the right pronunciation of these words?
Sure.
I think that the right one is barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah, she said barbecue.
Oh, you are correct, but actually it's barbecue. So the accent is on the first part. Barbecue.
Okay.
Barbecue. Yeah, you are correct.
Barbecue.
Yeah. That word comes from an old, a word from Hispaniola. Hispaniola is the old name for Cuba, right? Cuba and that area. When the settlers and when Columbus and all the different explorers came to that area, they landed on those islands and they saw that the local people there, they often would use, they would smoke their meat. They would smoke their fish or their meat, right? Or they cooked it over the fire. And the way they smoked it was they would use sticks and make a frame, right? So they had some sticks going this way and some sticks going this way to make a frame. And then they would put the fish on top of the frame and then put that over the smoke, over the fire. Guess what? The frame that they made in their language was called a barbacoa. So that's where the word barbecue comes from. It's from the word that was used to describe the rack that they used to smoke their meat or fish over. But we use it to talk about cooking meat. But in America, barbecue is a specific thing. Barbecue is cooking over fire somehow, but low and slow for many, many hours. So we have grilling. Grilling is when you do hot dogs and hamburgers. That's not barbecue. That's grilling. Steak, that's grilling. That's not barbecue. Barbecue is when you have a piece of brisket and you put it on the grill for 12 hours or more, 24 hours. And it's cooked at a very, very low, slow heat and a lot of smoke. And the smoke flavors the meat and dries it out and cooks it very, very slowly to make it very soft. So barbecue in America means low, slow cooking over fire using smoke.
All right. And the second word is thing. Thing.
Thing.
Thing, right?
Yeah.
She said thing.
No. Thing. Yeah. Thing.
Thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. This happens a lot, Flavia. When I was in Taiwan, I had a class of a conversation class. It was adults. And it was different every class. This was a really interesting school where you could pay money every month and go to as many classes as you want. So it was like a subscription, right? And so sometimes I had 10 people in the class, sometimes I had 30 people in the class. And every once in a while, I would have somebody come who was new and they're not a native speaker, but they've been learning English for many, many, many years, mostly by themselves. And they think their English is really good. They think their English is really, really good. But it's not. They make problems. There are definite problems that I can recognize. But when I try to tell them, they get very upset. Because the language has kind of become part of their ego. And so they feel attacked when you correct them, right? So what I would say is, especially for a teacher, maybe it's best not to worry about it. Like, if you know the correct answer, then you know the correct answer, because there's a good possibility she might feel attacked or she might feel embarrassed by your corrections.
Yes, I would never correct her because she would be so embarrassed, you know.
Right. And this happens a lot. You know, I have made a few mistakes when I've been teaching through the years. I can remember them now. Like I remember when I was in Taiwan once. The kids were learning the word infamous, right? And at the time, I remember that my understanding of the word infamous was wrong. You know, I can admit that now. My understanding of the word infamous was that you are famous. It's just another way to say famous. But it's not correct, really. Infamous is only when you're talking about someone who's famous for doing bad things. I still think that there are some situations where that word feels more neutral to me than negative. But in most cases, when you talk about this word, you should say the infamous criminal, meaning it's a bad guy. He's famous for doing bad things, right? But I remember teaching them, and I remember them looking at me like, I don't know if that's right. And I remember thinking, well, I could make a choice. I could tell them that I'm right and get angry, or I could go home and check. I could go look and find out. And I looked into it, and I came back the next lesson, and I told them, hey, guys, guess what? I was a little wrong. This is what it should be, right? But not... There are many teachers who are not willing to admit they ever make a mistake. That's true with almost anybody who does a job. When you do a job, that job becomes part of your ego. And when that job is part of your ego, it's difficult to take criticism from people about what you do. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of being a human. We feel pride in what we do, so it's natural to feel attacked.
Yes.
But it's normal. It's normal. Many, many teachers, they think they know the answers, but it's not often that you meet someone who has the right character to be able to talk to them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, like, look, it's right here. It should be thing. You can check the pronunciation on Google. That's not hard. You can check the pronunciation of barbecue also. If you just type in barbecue, watch. Barbecue. If you type in that word, pronunciation. And right here, it will have a little recording.
Mispronounced, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel. Barbecue.
Barbecue. Barbecue.
Barbecue.
Stress on
Yeah.
Barbecue.
Now he's got a bit of a European accent, but yeah, barbecue is the pronunciation. Yeah.
And does chingy mean something?
Chingy. It does. I can't remember what it means. It's not that. I think it's not that current anymore. It's a slang term. What does that mean again? He's a rapper, one, but it's a slang term for money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wrote down. I wrote down in the comments.
yeah. Oh, just ting by itself, ting.
Ching.
Uh,
Yes, the way she said.
No, well, no, it's not really a thing. It's what we would write. Maybe if I have a bell and I ring the bell, the sound that I would write would be ting. Yeah,
Ting, okay.
that's the onomatopoeia of the sound of a bell would be ting, right? Yeah.
To do this with the bell, can I also say flick?
Can you also say what? Flick. Flick, like this. Yeah,
Flick, yeah.
to flick. That's right. Yeah, to flick the microphone. That's right. Yeah, this is called flicking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
And I would like to know, how is your book going so far?
I have it right here. I'm working on it right now. That's what I'm going to do after this stream here. Is I'm going to just spend some time today reorganizing my chapters and trying to get back to it. It's been a little while. I dropped it, and I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And sometimes when you feel like that, you need to just walk away for a little while and then come back to it to see if you feel fresh about it. So now I'm ready to kind of look at it again and see, okay, what do I need to do? And actually, I'm going to try to see if I can. I want to do a couple of things. One, I'm going to try to create a few frequently asked questions videos. Right? Like so many people ask me these same questions over and over and over again. So I'm going to try to make a list of a few of these questions and then do videos, short videos that answer them. And then some of those will be part of a course that I'm hoping to make here with the book. So anyway, I'm working on it. I have it right in front of me, right over here next to this computer here. So I'm working on it today. That was the plan.
And last thing I want to say is, did you see that yesterday your live on YouTube was 10 hours long?
Yeah. Every once in a while, I accidentally hit the wrong button. I don't end the stream. I just click close on the window, and then it stays open. And yeah, Miguel, my friend Miguel, he sent me a message and said, "Hey man, your stream is still open." And so yeah, I have to go edit that one now and cut 8 hours out of it. But yeah, that was my mistake. Occasionally, I make that mistake.
Yes, I think that this is the first time I came on live with you, isn't it?
No, you've come on before. One time, a long time ago, I remember. No, we've met once on camera before.
Oh, on my
Yeah.
birthday. On my birthday.
On your birthday. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. True. True.
Yeah. So, but it's good to see you again. Usually, I see you over there in my YouTube.
Yes, because today I got 1 hour to talk with you here
Okay.
on Hello Talk.
Okay.
Usually I use this time to watch Todd,
Ah, okay. All right.
but today he doesn't do any live, so I decided to come enjoy
Okay.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mark, for
You're welcome.
our how can I say our
Conversation.
conversation. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure to be
Yeah,
here.
it's a pleasure too. And again, just like I said the other day, I think I'll feel better about what I do here if I get to talk to people a bit more. But I want to talk to people who I see regularly. I want to talk to people who show me that they care about what I do. So that means, because when I see you here all the time, then I know you care about what I do, right? So I would like to have more of these people show up in my streams and raise their hand to come talk to me, because that's when I feel like I'm actually developing something. When I talk to a new person every time, sometimes you just feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's making any progress at anything. It just feels disconnected, like I'm just answering a question, like I'm ChatGPT. So
I understand.
it's better when I feel like I can make some connections, then I feel good about what I do. So thank you for coming on my stage and talking to me again, Flavia, and have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay, you too, Mark.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, they can understand what I'm saying. 为什么你不可以听得懂我说什么？为什么你听不懂？你觉得我说太快了吗？ You heard about a different word. Anecdote. Yeah, anecdote is a good word. It's basically like an anecdotal evidence, for example, would be evidence that's like when someone says, my friend went outside in the rain and he got sick, so the rain must have caused his sickness. The rain caused his sickness because he went outside. That's an anecdote. It means that it's a story about one person who got sick that way, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's evidence. So anecdotes are basically like stories. They're similar to idioms. They're similar to idioms, but idioms are meant to teach a lesson. Anecdotes are just an example of something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's meant to teach anything. Sometimes they're used to suggest a connection, but anecdotal evidence is not very strong evidence. Correlation is not causation, as we say. Oh, okay, let's see. A story about a real incident or fact. Yeah, they are. They're stories about real evidence or facts, but not in a very statistically relevant way, right? So it's just one story about one example about one time when something happened. That's an anecdote. Okay? It's the difference between... Carlos, imagine this. Scientists have to go find the evidence by a process where they have to be sure that they asked everyone, they asked a large enough number to get good information, good data. They have to ask the right number of questions. An anecdote is when you just go to the village and say, hey, have you ever seen this happen? And someone says, yes, I have. That's an anecdote, right? So if the difference between collecting real data and real information and just saying, hey, have you ever heard about this before? Yeah, I think I've heard about that before. That's an anecdote. Okay? You are welcome. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Okay, does anyone else want to come talk to me, or should I just start working on my book? You're welcome, Flavia. It was good to see you. Nobody? Nobody has a question? Okay, what's your question? If you want to work with English native speakers, but my English isn't very well, sometimes I can understand what they say. Okay. Can I talk about articles? You want to know more about articles? Sure. So articles are pretty easy. We have a, we have an, and we have the. And the only real difference is we use a and an when we're talking about some general thing. We use the when we're talking about a specific thing. So if I say, give me a book, I mean any book. I don't care. Give me an umbrella. Give me any umbrella. I don't care. If I say, give me the umbrella or give me the book, that's a specific book. Okay? So, a and 这是一个，这是普通的。Okay? It's anyone. But if I say the, 这是这个. Okay, that. Okay? All right, and SK's question was, but you're not good at talking with them. At first it's tough. How can you fix that? At first, everything is tough. At first. When you ride a bike, at first it's tough. When you swim, at first it's tough. Right? So, how did you learn how to ride a bike well? How did you learn how to swim well? You have to do it. So, you're right. At first, it's tough. But it's not first forever if you keep doing it. Right? So, what you need to do is get through first. Get through first. Right? At first, it's tough. You're right. At first. Get through first. Then it won't be. Okay? And if they're native speakers, you can do the same thing that I do with Chinese. Okay? 我常常是要说不好意思，请可以说慢一点吗？你也可以说 I'm so sorry. Can you slow down a little bit when you speak? Okay? Okay, let's see. So a and an is for anything. A book, an umbrella, that's any book, any umbrella. And the book means that book. The umbrella means that umbrella. Okay? How can you remember many new words? Words are just like people. If you spend time with them, you will remember them. If you don't spend time with them, you won't. If you spend quality time with them, you will remember them. If you don't spend quality time with them, you won't. So, Risa, if you go to lunch with someone and you don't talk to them, you just eat, why go to lunch with them at all? And are you going to remember anything about them? No, because you didn't talk to them. Okay? If you ask them questions and you talk about things, now you will remember. You need to have an interaction with the words that you're studying so that you learn about where does this word come from? What is the purpose of this word? Can I see how this word is used a few different ways? Can I see some examples of how it's used? Are there any other words that are related to this word? Maybe some words that I know that are related. If you do that, then you will remember. It seems like a lot of work, but it's not. It's not a lot of work. It's an efficient method to learn so that the words stay in your brain. Okay? But if you just memorize, they won't stay. They won't stay. Andrea wants to know about adverbs. Adverbs are, well, it has the word verb in it, right? It's, what is an adverb? Ad, in this case, means adjective, verb. So it means a verb, it means an adjective that describes the verb. So for example, adverbs always answer the question, how was it done? How did they do it? So he ran to the store. How did he run? He ran to the store quickly. Okay? She walked to the park. How did she walk? She walked to the park slowly. So, adverbs answer the question, how did they do it? Slowly. Oh, quickly. Right? So that's what an adverb does. Adjectives describe nouns and adverbs describe verbs. Okay? Do I think paper reading is better than digital reading? I think paper reading is better than digital reading, but I think digital reading has many advantages that paper reading does not have. I think it's better to be able to have access to the amount of digital material available easily. To be able to carry a library on your phone is incredible. You can have thousands of books on your phone, right? So that is valuable. I do have thousands of books on my phone. But I still like a good book that you can hold in your hand, but it's expensive to buy real books, and it's also costly for the environment. So, do I like real books? Yes. Do I use digital books? Yes. Okay? Lillian, hello Lillian, what's your surprise for me? You're going to play a song with electric piano. You play piano now? When did you learn how to play piano? You were working the airport and some dude who was pissed said to you, "Hey man, stop stringing around me"? And do my check-in first? Huh. Okay. Interesting. Okay. You do need confidence and you do need luck. That's true. That's exactly what you need. And if you do it once, then you'll start getting it. Okay? Confidence and luck are things that you get only if you move your feet forward. Okay? You can't be lucky if you don't make a decision. You can't be confident if you don't try. Okay? Okay, let's see what Lillian's surprise is. I haven't talked to Lillian in a while. Oh. Lillian, are you there? Lillian, hello? I tried to invite you. Are you there? Strange. Let me try again. Are you able to come, Lillian, or no? How can you refine your comprehension to be able to understand more than what you have? Comprehension is a difficult thing because comprehension requires contemplation. You can't comprehend what you can't understand, right? That's what comprehension is. It's understanding. So understanding requires thought. So when you say, how can I improve or refine my comprehension? On a basic level, you can just do more comprehension reading exercises. On a basic level, that would help you. But on a more advanced level, comprehension is about having a higher sense of logic. And that's something that takes more time to develop. So what I would say is, on a basic level, you just need to do more reading comprehension and push yourself to read and try to comprehend more difficult things, right? And ChatGPT is great for this. Again, choose an article that's a difficult article, or ask ChatGPT to write an article. Say, write an article about science for me at an advanced English level, and then give me some reading comprehension questions about this article. It will. And then you can answer the questions and ask it to correct you or give you suggestions of how to improve your answers or improve your comprehension or improve or understand anything that you didn't understand. Okay? Lillian, what happened? Where are you? Is it beneficial to watch movies with subtitles? Yes and no. It can be beneficial for some people when you're learning, but it also can turn into a crutch. What is a crutch? When you break your leg, they give you something like these things, right, to walk with. Those are called crutches. And crutches are good when you have a broken leg, right? When your leg is broken, you need the crutches. But after your leg is healed, is it still good to use the crutches? No, it's not. Same thing with subtitles. Subtitles can be useful for someone who is learning. But if you are already able to speak English, subtitles might be a crutch that you're using, right? And more importantly, Bahar, there is something better than the subtitles. Every American TV show and movie has something called the transcript. If you go get the transcript online, it's free. Just type in this word, transcript, and type in the name of your TV show or movie. There will be a website that has free transcripts of whatever you're watching. A transcript is the subtitles, but it's written out for you to print it out so you can hold it in your hands. If you have the transcript in your hands, then when you watch the movie or TV show, you can make notes. You can circle the words that you like or the phrases that you like. You can circle the words that you don't understand or the words that you want to work on more. Crutch is C-R-U-T-C-H. Crutch. Lillian, I already sent you 2 invites. I don't know why. Did you not get the invites, Lillian? Hold on, and I'll try again. Hold on. Let me finish these questions. Stringing me around. Okay. So to string me around or string me on, that's a phrase that means to somehow delay or what's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're trying to keep them there and trying to get them to go towards buying something, right? Stringing me around would be like trying to keep them there, talking about something to get them to buy something maybe. So not always about buying something, but in this case, maybe. Fooling around. Could be. You've been studying for a long time. You feel it's not easy. No, there are no easy languages. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's a completely and totally arbitrary and personal concept. Everybody has a different idea about what's difficult and what's easy, right? So some people will think Chinese is easy. Some people will think French is easy. Some people will think they're really difficult. So it's not valuable to talk about which language is easy and which language is difficult. It's just not valuable. That's like saying rock music is easy and jazz music is difficult. They're both difficult and both easy in different ways. Okay? Don't get caught up in silly arguments that have no value. You want to improve your fluency. Well, everybody wants to improve their fluency. But the problem with that is there is no such thing as fluency. Fluency doesn't really exist. It's a made-up thing. Why do I say that? Because you can't define it. If I ask you to define fluency, you can't. You'll tell me something like able to speak about things easily. But can you speak about everything easily? So, in your native language, if I ask you about astrophysics, can you speak about astrophysics easily? In your native language, can I ask you about 1960s American free jazz movements? No. You probably can't talk about that freely, right? So how many words do you need to know? Do you need to know 20,221 words or 20,222 words? And does your grammar need to be perfect to be fluent? What about your accent? Does your accent have anything to do with fluency? So fluency doesn't exist. It's a myth. And it's a myth that makes you feel bad because you feel like you want to get there, but you can't. There's a better word. Instead of trying to improve your fluency, I want you to improve your musicality. Musicality means to make something sound musical. Musical means to sound good to the ears. It sounds musical, it sounds good to the ears. That's the basic definition. So instead of trying to make your language more fluent, which is a goal that can't be achieved because it doesn't exist, I want you to make your language more musical, which means that every day you continue to try to improve it and make it sound better. But there is no finish to musicality. No one is ever musical enough. That's the problem with the word fluency. Fluency implies there's a finish. There is no finish. There is no finish to language learning. Okay? All right, let's see what happened to Lillian again. All right, I'm trying again, Lillian. There she is.
Hi, Teacher David. Hi, Teacher
Hello,
Mark.
how are you?
Not too bad, and you?
I'm pretty good. So what are you going to share with us today?
I would like to play the piano for you.
Okay, sure.
Maybe I will play the classical one.
Okay.
Yeah, let me change my.
Okay, take your time.
Okay, let me see. Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, okay. I will open my my voice.
Okay.
Did you hear the voice?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
Oh, that was pretty. I like that. Was that a song?
Really?
Yeah, was that a song that you know, or did you write that?
No. I don't play this Chinese classical music. It's written by the Chinese people.
Okay, so it's a famous Chinese classical song. Okay, that's pretty. All right.
Yeah.
That's good. When did you start learning piano?
1 month ago.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Learning a musical instrument is very, very valuable, I think. There are so many things that you can learn
Yeah,
from music.
and then maybe next time I will play the Taylor Swift love story to you.
Okay. Yeah, next time. That's fine. Learn it. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good, Lillian. I'm glad you're learning a musical
I
instrument.
also have good news to telling you.
Okay.
And in 2025, and I have got my excellent English volunteering certificate.
Wow,
in
congratulations.
2025.
Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations. That's
Thank you,
great.
Teacher Mark.
You're
Because
welcome.
you are my coach, so you are my teacher, so I wanted to share this news for you.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Good for you. Keep working on it, okay?
Thank you, Teacher Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll come back and play us another song next time, okay?
Okay, if you see me, and you can invite me
Okay.
in your meeting room.
All right. Take care, Lillian. I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. And Flavor Swad, I see you if you're still there over in my YouTube. But again, guys, when you join and you want to talk to me, you have to remember you're not the only one here. There are many other people here, and sometimes I'm busy talking, right? So if I don't reply to you, it's probably because I'm busy. So, don't be rude, Okay, let's see. Did I miss any other comments? Let me see. Without subtitles, it's difficult to understand dramas. Maybe. Yeah, some dramas. It depends on the drama, I think. Wei Jian, 我住在美国，我是美国人，在俄亥俄州，就是在美国中部，你知道吗？俄亥俄州。And there was a comment, something about music. Let me see what that comment was again. Music genres are different, and some music's made up non-existent words. Essen, they don't make up non-existent words. That is what language is making up words. Shakespeare made up words, many of them. Many words that never existed before, Shakespeare made them. Milton, another one, famous English writer who created words. That's what language is. So when rappers do it, it's no different than when Shakespeare does it. Most of the time. Maybe 3% of the time I might say it's made up garbage. But most of the time, no, it's just like anything else. It's language. It's a developing thing. It's a developing thing. Okay, let's see. Led Zeppelin will be back in a couple of months. Oh, to Brazil? Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, but I just don't think I want to see that now. Tulek! Wow, look at Tulek. Long time no see. Yeah, Hajo Bujen. How are you? Good to see you again, Tulek. Good night, Risa. I am on YouTube as well, Tulek. Yes, you can go to my YouTube channel if you don't want to lose your time limit. Good night. Risa, sometime you'll have to come back and teach me some more Japanese. I want to learn some more Japanese. I only know a few words. I want to know more. Somebody needs to teach me. Yeah, they're in their 80s. I mean, yeah. At some point, it's just like, I love your music. I respect the hell out of you. I would love to talk with you. I would love to have dinner with you. I don't need to see you up on stage at 80 years old trying to play some of the most important heavy rock music in history. It just doesn't, it just doesn't look good. Yeah. I love those guys. I respect them tremendously, but there is a time when you need to know when to hang it up. There is a time when you need to know how to go out on top. And many, many rock bands seem to have trouble with that. Ah, you purchased the lifelong membership. Okay. Yeah, Axl Rose is another example. You know, guys, this is something that many professional musicians, we learn this as we get older. As we get older, we realize that there are certain kinds of music that you start to look stupid playing. You know, when you're 18 or 20 or 25, if you play the newest pop music, that's okay. It looks fine. But when you're 50 and you're playing the newest pop music by Taylor Swift or whoever, it looks weird. It looks weird. However, if you play R&B music, no problem. You can play that until you're 90. If you play jazz music, no problem. You can play that until you're 90. But Guns N' Roses, rock and roll is a young man's business. I'm sorry. I love rock. I still play rock, but I don't play shows anymore because I couldn't even do it, I don't think. I couldn't do it the way I used to. You know? And Carlos, there are some people who literally can't play anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Metallica comes to mind. Can it be regarded to some as some stereotype? What can be regarded as some stereotype? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Yeah, that's part of it. Is they're just their body. They're just too. It's hard to play that music. It's a very challenging music. I'm young too. I'm glad you think so. I'm glad you think I'm young. I'm willing to bet I'm older than you think. Did I mean Lars? Kind of. Yeah, I did. Yeah, there are so many videos of him playing embarrassingly bad. Embarrassingly bad. But the problem is he does not seem to be embarrassed. That's a problem. It's okay to have a bad show. It's okay to get old. It's okay to feel like you can't do it the way you used to do it. But he's trying to do it the way he used to do it, and he can't. And then it ends up being terrible. And it's disappointing and depressing. Anyway. Hello, Edgar. Good to see you. All right, who else wants to talk to me? Dima. Let's start with Dima, and then we'll try to see if we can go to Simi, and then Game Changer and Edgar. Hello, Dima. Long time no see. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, long time no see. I'm okay. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay too. I'm all right too. Doing the best I can.
Yeah,
how Joe Chen. I was just gonna say, are you? I couldn't remember if that's you. That's right. You do know a little Chinese, yeah. That's right.
By the way, I learned one more interesting phrase in Chinese. 一日不见，如隔三秋。
你是不见，如隔三秋。
一日不见，如隔
一致Okay. Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, one day without you feels like 3 years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not for our case, but just learned it.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. 不错. Yeah.
My pronunciation is really bad, I know, in Chinese.
Yeah, again, Chinese pronunciation is a difficult one to get your mouth wrapped around, and again, it's, for me, the biggest thing was just reminding myself to speak with a small mouth, but then when you speak with a small mouth, you still need to have you have to have clarity of movement of those small movements. Because if you don't have clarity of movement, then the pronunciation will be mumbled,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if before you play the guitar or singing, you sang, but now you have to play whistle.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it is. That's a very similar idea. Yeah, when you learn a new musical instrument, you know the idea of music, but you have to learn a completely different way of a technique. You know.
Yeah, I can compare it because the most of my life I play guitar, but recently I tried to play whistle, and it's not really easy.
Yeah.
Because I never played any whistle.
You know, I just saw a guy on Facebook, some company that makes these new whistles. They're called drone whistles. Have you ever seen that?
Drone?
Yeah.
How?
So these whistles are really interesting. Drone has two meanings. When we hear the word drone now, we think about war, right? We think about like or cameras or things like that. But the word drone in music has another term. To drone means to make one sound continuously, right? So, for example, Indian music often has a drone sound underneath. There's like a chord that they play, and then they play over that. That's a drone sound.
I know what you mean. I have seen this kind of whistle. It's American flute.
Yeah, they're Native American Indian flutes, or the style. And that's right. He has two tubes. That's exactly correct. Yeah, I had never seen that before. Yeah, they really do. And they're cheap. They're really cheap. I mean, musical instruments are usually pretty expensive, but he's selling those things for like $50. That's pretty cheap. For,
are you talking about American native flute?
Yeah. $50 for that one.
I tried to make American native flute by myself.
Oh yeah?
And it's not really difficult, I can say.
Yeah, no, making flutes is not that hard. Yeah, it's not a very complicated concept. It's a piece of wood that you hollow out.
Only 5 keys usually, and maybe 6.
Yeah, right.
You can play.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest instruments in the world, is the flute. They debate about whether flute or drums are the oldest instruments in the world because both flute and drums, it's hard to know which one was first because all evidence is gone. Flutes, they disappear. They break down into nothing. And drums also, they break down into nothing. So it's hard to know who had which was first, the flute, or just recently last year, I think they found some new flute that they think is the oldest one. But again, I think they all agree that there is no way to know which instrument was ever the first instrument because we'll never, the evidence is gone. It's all decomposed. So it can't ever be solved to know whether that flute is the first flute or whether, many people do think that anthropologists, a lot of them do think that drumming came first because it's so simple. It's just 2 sticks or 2 rocks. And you just hit them together and you're drumming, So, but the flute is another one. And again, it's
flute,
it's not difficult.
You should master how to say to do something with stick.
That's right. That's right. There's some tooling required. You have to use some kind of a tool to make it, right? Whereas drums, that's one reason I love the drums, is because the drums is not about the drums. It's about the drummer. A drummer can make drums anywhere. Yeah, like I remember when I was in my 20s, when I was teaching drums. Sometimes when I would have a break, I would go down to a restaurant that my bass player worked at. There was a restaurant just down the street that my bass player, he worked there. And sometimes when I had an extended break where maybe people canceled their lessons or something, I would go down there and have some food and just hang out and chat. And he always said to me, he said, I would come in there and I'd pound on the table, on the counter, I would just kind of hit on the counter. And he said, Mark, people come in here all day long pounding on the counter and they annoy the hell out of us. But when you do it, it sounds like music. Because like I said, because drumming is not about the drums, it's about the drummer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can use a guitar like a drum when I play, and some guitarists they play
that's
music
right.
and make it like drum sound,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to do this well. Yeah, it's possible. Some guys do this really.
Yeah,
really
there are
well.
many of them. You know, when I was in the 90s, I remember there were just a few guys who knew how to do that. There were just a handful. It was very new. Nobody had ever seen anybody playing drums while they're playing guitar. Now there are hundreds of them. If you go on YouTube or Facebook, you can find millions of people playing crazy stuff that's cool, really cool. But yeah, it's not uncommon anymore at all. It's very common. Yeah.
It's very common, so it became like when I see this, like I think, oh, again.
The word that you're looking for, there's a French word we use for that, passé. Passé. Yeah, passé is a French word that means like out of fashion now. It's like, that's passé. Like, no. That, again? No. Never mind. I'm over it. It's passé. Yeah. So, anyway. How's life other than that?
Any questions to ask you?
No, that's okay. No, you know, I don't mind just talking, because if it's someone who has something to talk about, and if it's someone who, again, who they show me that they come to my streams often, that's like buying a ticket for my stage. So if I see you in my streams regularly, if I know you support me, if I know you like what I do and you support what I do, then that is all the ticket you need to come talk to me about whatever. Now, if I don't know you, then that's when it's better if you have a question. Because my time is valuable and I'm trying to help people with their English. So if you just come on my stage and say, "Can we just talk?" That's not useful to anybody else. That's only useful to you, right? But if you ask me a question about, grammar, many people will have that same question or something. So then I'm helping more than just you. So I love to talk to people, but I like to talk to people who I feel have earned it. Because I see them coming regularly. They support me. So then I want to support you by chatting.
Yeah, actually, that's good that you make live streams often again, because recently you didn't do this so often.
Yeah,
And
I needed a
don't
break.
like a little bit pity, because you are like kind of one of the main teacher in Hello Talk that people usually like watching, and as well as me. So yeah, that was really sad when you.
I appreciate that.
come here
I
often.
appreciate hearing that, Dima. It's nice to know. But I needed to step away from it because the truth is that sometimes I don't feel good about what I do here anymore. Sometimes it feels just like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm a man of purpose. I feel like the things I do need to have purpose to them.
Yes,
To develop into
of course,
something.
that's-
But sometimes I feel like I'm just here and I'm not really developing anything, that I'm just moving my feet but not getting anywhere. So but it matters to me when I hear that people care. It matters to me that when I hear that people want me to be here, but not in a selfish way. Occasionally there are people who are just very selfish about it. They say, "Teacher Mark, why aren't you here to answer my questions?" And it's like, like I'm a human being too. There are things I have. You know what I mean? Like, so why aren't you here to answer my questions? Doesn't feel very good, Yeah. So But yeah, like I said, it makes a huge difference to me when I see people who I've been talking to for years now, you know, making connections with. That's a big, big thing to me. If you want to make a connection with me, then I'm happy to do it. It's just when it feels like, sometimes it feels like I'm a teacher sitting in a classroom, and there are some people who came to sit down in the class and learn, like you. But there are also some people who just walk in the door, they ask me their question, and then they leave. You know, and that's weird. That's a weird thing as a teacher, to feel like you have just people come in and say, you know, hey, here's my question. All right, bye. You know, like, so it's weird. You know.
Yeah, actually, for me, it's not. Doesn't matter if you invite me to the stage or not, because I can just watch your stream, and that's really good, really cool to feel this vibe, your vibe, when your pronunciation, your accent, your American English, your topics that you like discussing, how you talk about this. It's like, actually, I feel like this makes me better, improves my English just by listening. I try
appreciate
to
that.
process what you are saying about, and it makes my language better, and it makes my mind more wide sometimes, because sometimes you can discuss some topics that I never thought about. Some topics really interesting just to listen.
I appreciate that. And it's good for me to hear that. But it's also really good for me to connect with you once in a while. You know, if you're listening and you like what I do, just remember, a musician needs their audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're a brilliant musician and you play by yourself and nobody's there to hear it or appreciate it, there's a symbiotic relationship between the musicians and the audience, you know? And the same thing is true with a teacher. A teacher needs connection to the audience, you know, the classroom. And so when I have regular people who come and who comment and who support me and who, you know, value what I do, that's important, because it's like I'm looking out to the audience and I see people there. Do you know what it feels like when you play a performance and there's no one in the audience? It doesn't feel very good when you're up there. I've done it a couple of times in my life. I've had to play shows where no one came, and it never feels good to play music when there's no one there to listen and no one cares and nobody wants you to be there. You know? Yeah.
You know.
So
we are human beings. We are
right.
Social creatures.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not trying to speak to myself when I do this, you know, like I'm trying to connect and teach people something or offer something, you know, but there's a connection. It has to have, you know, performer and audience that has to work together, you know. So, and yeah, you know, that's the way a good rock and roll audience is too, is many of them will just watch and go home. Some of them, they'll buy a t-shirt and they'll buy a hat and they'll stay to get an autograph after, and they'll stay and say, you know, how great they think you are and stuff. And that's important, you know. Some people think that being a musician is an easy job, but it's not. And to be honest, sometimes it's that feeling you get when people support you. That's what makes you do it again. Right? So the same thing is true for me here, is that when I find out that people care about what I do, then that's when I want to do it. You know?
Yeah, it's like kind of public sphere when you teach, when you play music.
Yeah,
and you have to
somewhat.
find your audience.
Yeah,
really,
somewhat.
That audience is difficult.
Right. You know, I mean, I could play music by myself and not care about what anyone thinks, but music is better when there's an interaction. When people appreciate the adventure that they're hearing, you know, then that's better. Music is about expression. When you have a brilliant musician who's performing and someone likes it, that means somehow they understand, they connect, they relate to that feeling. And that's a connection, right? But if there's no one there to hear it, then there's no one there to connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's always good, really. I mean, it means so much to me to have people like you who have been, here for years. When I see any of the people like you in the audience, the people who are always here, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. That's money would be better. but loyalty is still nice. Loyalty is still a good currency. Anyway, yeah. But Dima, I appreciate it very, very much. Really, thank you for still watching. It's also it's humbling. It's humbling when people still watch me, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Some people watch me for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I don't know why anyone would want to listen to me for more than 10 minutes. But people do.
Why? No.
But
Why?
people, it's just me, I'm glad people want to hear me. I'm glad people want to ask me questions and listen to my ideas and hear what I think about learning and teaching. But I also, I love my ideas, but I don't expect everyone else to. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised when people like it. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I'm glad you like it. I didn't do it to try to get you to like it. I just did it because that's what I believe. But if you like it, that's great.
Of course, someone will like your ideas anyway, because... But not everyone. It's impossible.
No, that's right. It is impossible. Yeah, there are plenty of people who
different
don't like
people.
what I do at all. Yeah, that's
It's
okay.
like one guy told me, I'm not $100 because to be how to say? Oh, sorry, I don't know. How
That's
to say
okay.
in English.
No, that's all right. What was it? Try it again. Let's find it.
He said, I'm not $100.
Okay.
That's
okay. Take your time. Take your time. Try to figure it out.
Other people to like me. Oh, everyone likes me. So, no.
I'm like $100. Everyone likes me.
Yeah. Everyone likes $100.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not $100.
Right. That's pretty much the idea that I was trying to say. Yeah, that's pretty much the idea. Is you might think I have more value than I think I have.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm glad. But it's one of those things where, again, I think it's very important to stay humble, because if you think that you're great, then you can never be great.
Oh, yeah. In the moment when you think you are perfect, you stop being perfect.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So the way to stay on the path to greatness is to never believe that you're great. And that's part of just being humble. If you always think you suck, then you're always going to keep working on it. It's when you think you're awesome, then you stop working on it,
It's like my mom always tried to told him, like, why you always don't like what you do. For example, I tried to paint before, and I learned how to play guitar, and she asked me all the time, why you never like how you play, how you draw. And it's like she doesn't understand that if I like everything, I don't want to do anything else. It's
Right.
like, I think, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I just will look at this and that's good.
Right. Yeah, there are some people that's the way they're programmed. They're programmed to always want to do something better. And if you're programmed that way, then nothing is ever really good enough. You're hypercritical, and so you're always trying to make it better. I've gotten better, but I am that way. And like when I was 18 or 19, I think I was 19, I did my first record in a studio with my band, and we had to record everything. And when you're a drummer, they have like 20 microphones pointed at you, and everything you do comes out. Even the smallest mistakes come out. And it's different now. It's a little bit different now. But back then when you recorded, the way it worked in the studio was the drummer had to get their take right first. And if the drummer got his take right or her take right, then the rest of the musicians could come in and do their parts as many times as they want. So the guitar player could just come in and say, oh, well, I want to do my part again. I'm not happy with that one. But he can't do that until I get my part right. So that means all the pressure is on the drummer to make sure the drum take got right first. Because once the drum take is good, now everybody else can come in and do their takes again and again and again to get the perfect one. But the drummer, the pressure was always on us to get it right first. So I remember listening to my first recordings when we would go, back into the studio room to listen to what we just played. And I hated everything I did. I hated it. I hated every little mistake I made. I could hear so clearly. And it was terrible. But I've also learned that over time, one, I've gotten better. I don't make so many mistakes. And two, I've learned that what we consider to be mistakes are often not mistakes. They're just the way you do. It's your sound, right? So, for example, Jack DeJohnette is one of my favorite jazz drummers, and he has a way of playing that I call sloppy perfection. It's hard to write down. Sometimes his stuff is really hard to write down what he's doing because it's so loose. But in the context of the music, it's perfect and exact. So it's really hard to describe. It's sloppy, but it's exactly perfect as well. And so I've learned that sometimes it's the mistakes that make you, you. If something has no mistakes, it's just like a computer.
Yeah.
It's humanity.
What do you think
Mistakes are
it's
humanity.
better to learn how to play, for example, drums without mistakes, try to be perfect, and then you will find your own style, or maybe you should find your style in the beginning. You have to try to find this.
There are two ways of looking at that. So there are some people who try to ignore everyone and only be themselves, and that's really, really, really difficult to do. Everybody is generally influenced by someone. You listen to music, you're influenced by it. So I played with a few people who are like that, who are extremely unique, and their sound has always been that way. But then I'm much more of the other style of player where you spend the first 10 years learning how to sound like other people so that you can spend the next 10 years sounding like yourself. So what that means is you have an influence and you study that influence, and then you find another influence and you study that influence, and then you find another influence and you study that influence. And after many years, what happens is all of your influences coalesce into one, and that becomes you. That is your new voice, where you are a mix of all the influences that you had. That's me. So I was influenced by John Bonham, and I was influenced by Steve Gadd, and I was influenced by Jack DeJohnette. And you can hear it just a little bit in my playing. There are times when I have moments that are like this and moments like that. This person, But anybody who has listened to me knows that it's me, that it sounds like me, Yeah. So language and music are that way. They're personal. You develop your own sound. Nobody uses the same words that I do. Nobody pronounces things the same way that I do. Nobody uses the same intonation or dynamics that I do. Music and language are the same. They're personal. Everybody has their own sound.
Yeah.
That's what I wish more people would do, is, maybe I should add a chapter to my book about the musicality of language. That people don't think about language as music enough, that they should. There are too many reasons to think about it that way, that you should just keep making your language musical. It should be dynamic. What does dynamic mean? It should have louds and softs. It should have tempo. It should sometimes be slow and sometimes it should be fast. And sometimes it should change.
Recently, I heard about one Chinese accent from the south part of China, and they said that Chinese had or has 9 tones. Like not only but also it depends on speed, how fast you say. It's also change tones or something like that. And it's how musician this language is. It's incredible, really.
Yeah, again, that was one reason why I think that I didn't have as much trouble with Chinese as many people do, because tones, it makes sense to a musician.
Yeah.
When I learned them, that's how I learned my numbers, was by, I would draw the tones in the air as I would say them, right? So, 1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10. And if you draw them, it's like you can see the pitches, you can see the tones. 1、2、3、4. Like you can feel it, you can feel the pitches. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you count numbers so perfectly. No, I can't do like that.
Well, that's what I tell everybody. If you want to work on Chinese, one of the first things you should do is learn how to say 1 through 10 really well.
Yeah.
Just work on 1 through 10.
More.
Yeah, and just do what I said. Just practice with the lines. Just, choose a high-pitched tone. Anything that's a first tone, just choose a high-pitched sound. E, right? Sun, just choose a high-pitched tone, right? And then anything that's a fourth tone, it's like you throw it down on the ground, right? R, si, right? It's like you just threw it down, right? You're throwing it down on the ground, right? And then for the curved tones, the third tone, like ooh, right? Make it uncomfortably like you're really trying to dip it. Ooh, 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 right? When I took...
Go
ahead.
This is the most difficult tone in Chinese, I think.
Third tone, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's mixed.
It is, yeah.
Down and up.
And it's even more difficult when you combine it with other tones because it changes the rules, right?
Say this
yeah. I still don't do that well. There are sometimes when my third tone is not correct because of where it happens in the word. But what I noticed when I took my Chinese class, I took a class for 6 months, and the teacher, whenever she did her third tones, she really exaggerated. So for example, sometimes when I teach my idea about thinking in English, right, I use the word for think in Chinese, which is xiang, xiang, xiang. But you have to really make that xiang, xiang. You have to really make it a tone. Yeah, like
what is that?
Think, to think, right? But it if you don't say it with that tone, then people won't understand you, right? You really have to exaggerate the that low pitch,
like a really stressed word.
Yeah. It's the one pitch, it's the one tone that you will see them actually adjust their throat for. right? So when I would watch her, if she said that tone, sometimes her chin, xiang, 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 right? Her chin would actually go down to try to get that xiang, that really deep pitch.
Is it a trick how to pronounce this tone?
It is. Yeah, it does. It does help.
Right?
Yeah, if you
Does it work?
if you dip your chin down, put your back up, dip your chin down, and then try to say any third tone, it will be easier. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just really dip it down. But move it as you do it.
Move. You're moving, right?
Xiang.
Moving like this.
Yeah, right.
Xiang.
Yeah, that's better.
Xiang.
Yeah, try
My
saying
throat.
the
My throat.
right. Your throat will expand, and so you'll get that lower pitch. That's right. That's exactly
it's like
right.
you try to speak with bass.
That's
or-
right. That's exactly right. Yeah, so you can
Ah.
get that lower sound by
It's also
doing that.
about music. It's also about music again.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. You pay attention to those things a little bit more. So
That's really interesting.
Anyway.
I like it.
yeah, language is just music. What is music? Music is
I think
sound
I
that you
decided to learn
express yourself.
Chinese because I like music, and if I didn't like music, I wouldn't learn Chinese because it's really difficult language.
It is, yeah. But again, it's more difficult to write and to read. But the speaking part of it is not that bad because the grammar is so much easier. I love Chinese grammar.
There is no grammar. Almost.
Yeah,
Almost.
yes, almost no grammar, really. Like you can make a lot of mistakes, and no one will care. No one will care.
Wow.
You can put the words out of order, and no one will care. I mean, I don't think I really do that very often, but I've seen people do it, and they still understand you completely. The only difference is the way Chinese works is sometimes English. When you listen to people with Chinese, you have to wait. You have to wait until they finish, because the last words they say could be really important to the entire conversation. But with English,
You make a sentence like question, for
right,
example,
right,
You
or
break
just
it, ma.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But with English, you can start the sentence and somebody will know what you're going to say before you're finished, and then they'll interrupt you. Because they think they know what you're going to say. But with Chinese, you actually do have to usually wait. You have to wait and listen because the way the word order is different. And because the word order is different, it could mean that the thing that they're trying to say, you don't know what they're going to say until they finish it. Yeah. And same thing with reading. When you're reading Chinese, sometimes you have to read the whole sentence before you understand. When I read an English sentence, I can usually predict. If I read the first half, I generally have an idea of what the second half is going to say. But with Chinese, nope, you have to wait till the whole sentence.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. In Russian, when I read some, before I worked as a lawyer, and I worked with a lot of texts, law texts, and I learned how to read so fast. I didn't read whole sentences.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
I saw some words and I could understand. But I'm curious if it's possible.
With
in
Chinese, like I said,
to read this.
occasionally I'll ask one of my Chinese friends to read something that's too difficult for me, right? And I've noticed that they have to read the whole thing. They have to read the whole sentence before they can tell me what it means. Whereas, like I said, yeah, we will skim it and be like, oh, well, I can just tell you what it means by skimming, by reading really quickly. But no, they have to read the whole thing usually to give you an answer.
But I notice Chinese people can read Chinese so fast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised. How
Yeah,
fast they
and
can
even
read
crazier is to be honest with you, here's the number one reason why Chinese people need glasses is not because they watch too much TV or they play video games too much. It's because their newspapers, the writing is too small. Like
Yeah.
they're the writing in the newspapers, especially traditional Chinese. Oh my God, I can't focus my eyes enough to even see the characters. They're too small. I need glasses just to read Chinese. And when I was taking classes, and you're writing in Chinese, especially traditional Chinese, there are so many strokes. I had to change pencils because I used to like using a pencil with a thicker lead. But when you're writing these characters, you need the smallest lead you can because the characters are so detailed.
Because of these small details.
Yeah.
For example, I
Yeah.
have myopia.
Right.
I can read without glasses, but usually I read with glasses.
Right.
because,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I
but
think
when I read Chinese,
you need the
I
glasses.
do this, and I do this.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I
Because
need
small details.
I need my glasses to read Chinese most of the time because it's too small for me to read and read clearly. Yeah. My reading is terrible though in Chinese. I need to work on my reading more. There's a great company called Mandarin Companion. And they make a bunch of graded books, readers for Chinese that are really, really good. Like it'll be one story that uses only 150 characters. So you read the story, and it's a simplified version of a very popular story, some children's story or something. But they only use 150 characters, so it's hard in the beginning, but if you keep going, then you get more familiar with, you keep seeing those same characters over and over again, and then it really improves your reading. And then the level 2 is 300 characters, I think. I think level 3 is 500 characters again. So, no, it's great. Those are really good. If you're trying to work on your reading, Mandarin Companion, great company that makes great materials. You can get them for on Kindle. You can get them for on Amazon for Kindle, and they're not too expensive. I think I probably have a dozen of them.
I made a note.
Yeah, they're really, really good. Yeah, that's been the number one way for me to work on my readings with Mandarin Companion. Yeah. So, anyway, Riven said, want to make fun of the Chinese again. What? Nobody's making fun of Chinese. Who's making fun of Chinese? No one. No. Yeah. Nobody's making fun of Chinese. We like Chinese. We learn Chinese. If we didn't like Chinese, we wouldn't take the time to learn the language, Yeah. So, tell us more about Mandarin.
Some Chinese people say I'm more Chinese than they are because they don't know some things about Chinese culture that I know. I don't know why and how, but I know some features about China.
Yeah.
Just because I learned something, heard something.
Yeah, but that's not that uncommon. It's not that uncommon. Sometimes, because it's your culture, you take it for granted. So you don't pay attention to a lot of things, right? So, for example, same thing, lots of people know about America. There are some people who know more about American history than Americans do.
Yeah.
Because we take it for granted,
Yeah, if you spend time, pay attention.
Right.
If you're interested.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the same thing, but I also know that Chinese people are very humble, and they like to give compliments like that. They like to say things like, "Oh, your Chinese is so good," or they like to say things like, "Oh, you know our culture better than we do." They like to say those kinds of things. They like to ingratiate themselves upon you, which means to they're not lying to you or something, but they're just it's like a compliment. It's a compliment. It's a way of giving a compliment to say like, "Wow, that's so amazing that you know so much about our culture." But they probably know it. they might know it. They might know it.
You remind me about some case from English. Is it true that if someone says you like you should write a book, it means this person doesn't want to listen to you anymore.
It
and,
can.
he's a little bit...
It can, yeah. But, again, English is such an interesting language when it comes to sarcasm, because that statement could be real. You should write a book could be a real compliment that you're telling
Could be
somebody.
real too, right?
Yeah, you could be saying like, hey, you really should write a book. You know a lot about this. But you're right. It could be somebody who's tired of hearing you, and they're basically saying like, you know what? Stop talking. Go write a book because nobody wants to hear this. Yeah.
Okay. Every case is different, I see.
Yeah. It's just, sarcasm is one of the things that's a little difficult about English. And it's interesting because that's something I had never considered before until I went to Asia and learned Chinese. Sarcasm is it's not really a cultural thing there. Not like it is here. They do have sarcasm, but it's not as common as in America. We use sarcasm all the time. We use it a lot,
No.
We love to be sarcastic.
Before people here started learning English so much, we didn't have sarcasm a lot, maybe a little bit, and we didn't have this word sarcasm. In the Soviet Union, I think people didn't know what sarcasm means.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't. I can't really imagine a Soviet
theorist from America. Yeah, we all know what sarcasm means.
Yeah, I can't really imagine a sarcastic Soviet.
No.
Well,
I think
but
definitely we had sarcasm before in Soviet Union.
You did.
Not a lot, and people didn't understand what it is.
Well, comedy is one of those really funny things. Comedy has been an important part of history. And it, like, for example, the jester. Do you know what a jester is?
Jester?
Yeah, the court jester. The court jester he's the guy that the king thinks is funny. So he wants the guy around he tells jokes and he does stupid stuff and he makes people laugh. He's the jester. No, not gesture. Jester. Jester. So, for example, when you play cards and you have the ace and you have the king and you have the queen and you have the jack, right? And then you have the what? The joker. The joker is the jester. Okay, that's another word for that. To jest, J-E-S-T. To jest is a word that means to joke, to make jokes, right? And the court jester was one of these guys that the king, he thought he was funny, so he would have a court jester in the court to make jokes, to say funny things, to sing, to dance, to read poetry, to read funny poetry. They used to read poetry that was funny. It was like hilarious jokes, right? But they always had to be careful because sometimes they would use sarcasm when they would tell their poetry, but it could get you killed. That if they didn't like the joke, if they didn't think your sarcasm was funny, then the king might kill you. So politics and comedy have always had an interesting relationship because comedy is a great way to talk about the things that you think are wrong. Right? You make jokes about them. You make jokes about them, and then that's a way to express yourself about the things you think are wrong. But like I said, that depends on the culture you come from. There are some cultures where it's very open, like mine, to want to talk about the things that are wrong. But not every culture is that way. So we have comedy clubs all over the place here. Every city in America, we have comedy clubs where you can go to a comedy club and see a comedian get up there and tell jokes about stuff. And they use a lot of sarcasm, and they often talk about things that are difficult subjects, things that we don't all agree about, politics and religion and things that we're arguing about and things like that. But we use comedy as a way to try to cope and deal with difficult topics and try to understand them, and sometimes to try to ridicule them or mock them because we feel they need to be. They should be. you know? So, especially in my country, comedy plays a really important role in telling the truth. Comedians often tell more truth than anyone else. If you really want to know what's going on in America, sometimes it's the comedians. They'll be the ones who will tell you what's really going on. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah. And then it's even funnier because the word comedy comes from the Greeks. The Greeks, you know, and they would have these comedies and tragedies, right? And a comedy and a tragedy, they were part of the same thing, you know? Like, you couldn't have something happy without having something sad. You put them together, you know? So, yeah, anyway.
Is there a word that mix tragedy and comedy?
Is there a word that mixes what in comedy? Tragedy
Like,
and comedy. There is, if I remember right. What is that?
How to call comedy that ends with a tragedy in the end?
So they just have you know what we do sometimes in English? We just take two words and we cut them in half and put them together. So a tragicomedy.
Tragicomedy. Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
tragicomedy is tragic comedy, you know. So yeah, that happens in English occasionally. We get
Because,
we get
there is a
lazy.
genre like a tragicomedy. In Russian, we also call it like that, but I didn't know how it's called in English. Maybe I thought maybe it's wrong to mix two of these words.
No, it's not wrong. It's just not always correct to describe it that way. Some people have an idea of what they think a comedy is in their head, or what they think a tragedy is in their head, and because they have the wrong idea, they use it the wrong way, right? But yeah, I think you're using it the right way.
Okay.
Yeah. Dark comedies, that's another one. Yeah, I love a good dark comedy. Dark comedies are great. There's a great movie called Cable Guy. Cable Guy. The Cable Guy. Yeah, it's a movie it's an early movie of what's his name? Matthew Broderick and Jim Carrey.
Oh, Cable.
Yeah, Cable
I
Guy.
watched it, but
I love that movie because it's a dark comedy. It's about this cable guy who has this sad, pathetic life. He lives by himself. He doesn't even have his own personality. Every name he tells people is a character from a TV show he watched, you know. He doesn't have any friends. He's desperate for friends. So it's a dark comedy that's, you know, I just think those kinds of movies are funny. Yeah. Anyway.
I just don't remember what is this movie about. Actually, I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's just about a cable guy a guy who buys cable, and then the cable guy comes to put his cable in, and tries to become friends with him because he put his cable in.
Don't Look Up. Tarek mentioned Don't Look Up. Do you know this comedy? It's a new one, not new one, several years old movie.
Oh,
Don't
right,
Look Up with,
right.
Leonardo
Yeah, that's
DiCaprio.
right. Yeah, I did see that one.
Also,
Yeah,
like a dark comedy,
yeah,
right?
also a dark comedy. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
This movie is really good too, I think.
Yeah, dark comedies can be funny that way, you know? Again, using humor. Humor has always been something humans have used through time as a psychological tool to deal with difficult things. If we joke about it, it's easier. It's less painful.
It's easier, yeah. And I think if something happens, is going on in country, some country has some problem, people can be, how to say, anxious, feel anxious.
Yeah,
And
right.
Everyone needs something to
That's
relax.
right. Yeah, and sometimes
really
the
good.
comedians are able to say things that you can't, or they're able to say things in a way that you can't, or they're able to make you think about something in a way that you didn't think about, and it makes it feel better. You know, it makes you relax a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I can't speak for every culture, but I can speak for mine, and I can say for sure that comedy is without comedy, I don't think we can have democracy. To be honest,
We don't have what?
we can't have democracy if we don't have comedy.
I didn't get. Sorry.
Democracy.
Oh,
Yeah.
democracy.
Yeah, we can't have democracy if we don't have comedy, because comedy is such an important way that we tell the truth. That's our free. That's part of our free
I didn't
press.
recognize this word because I rarely hear this.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
No,
but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But again, different cultures. Think about how many. Which cultures have the most numbers of comedians, and it usually corresponds pretty closely to which countries are democratic. Because
France has a lot of comedy movies, really good comedy
yeah,
movies.
sure. And they have comedians too. They have lots of comedians too. Definitely. Yeah, and you have to remember, where did we get our democracy from? We got our democracy from France. And they got theirs from the Greeks.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So, but even the Greeks, again, this goes back to the Greeks. The Greeks used jokes all the time to talk about difficult things. They wrote funny things. They wrote things they thought were funny. You know what? Here's a funny story. I was just reading, I have a page I belong to on Facebook that's called Food in History. And it's this guy that cooks recipes from a long time ago. Like, he chooses recipes from a long time ago and he tries to make a modern version of it now. And he found this recipe for these little tiny meatballs. And the name of the meatball is farts. They're farts.
Well,
Farts. Do you know what a fart is?
actually, no. What is it?
It's the gas
I have
that
to
you.
check.
It's the gas you release from your backside. That's a fart.
Oh.
Yeah. So here's what I found out. These little meatballs, they're lamb meatballs. They boil them and they spice them. But it's a joke. It was a joke that they were playing on the French, because the French and the English, they've been fighting for so many years, right? So they've always had a contentious relationship. And in French, the word farce, it meant, or farce, I think, it meant stuffing, like the food inside the bird, right? So when you make a chicken and you stuff it with stuff, that's the stuffing, right? We call that stuffing. They call it farce. The British thought it was funny to create a recipe that sounded like farce, but was the word fart. So that when they could serve it they would invite the French and then say, "Would you like some farts?" Yeah. So look, comedy has been around for a long time. Comedy has been around for a long time. It's really funny.
I think it's a basic level of comedy to joke.
Oh
to joke
yeah,
about
absolutely.
these
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like farts and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And again, if you look back in history and you look back at these jokes have been around forever.
Yeah.
All the way back to Roman times and Egyptian times and Sumerian times, you can find jokes. And poop and pee jokes are the number one. Those are the fart jokes and things like that. Bodily functions. Those are the things that everybody jokes
Do you
about.
know why? Because we are still monkeys.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's right. We're still simple little animals. Yeah. Anyway.
And
Hey,
that's good. That's good, I think.
one moment here. I have to check what's going on in my comment. Hey, guys, LeBron, be nice. Don't call somebody an old lady. That's not nice to do. LeBron? Okay? Be nice. Come on. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, but I'm just saying jokes are just jokes. I thought that was hilarious that the British made a recipe called farts. Why? Because they thought it would be funny to serve it to the French. Because the French wouldn't know it was a joke. You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like, and again, it's like effort of a British people to make a joke, to laugh at French people because they don't like each other from the history.
They've been
of the-
fighting for years and years and years. Yeah, right. Yeah, they've been fighting for many, 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 many years. And again, even in the language, there are lots of words that you can find that will describe this. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting if I can find a farts recipe.
Yeah, you can. You can. I'll send it to you if you want me to.
Farts recipe.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, it actually sounds pretty delicious. It doesn't sound bad. They use ground lamb and they use some spices like mace and like Christmas spices that we usually use for Christmas foods. They put those together and it also has some sweet currants and fig, I think, in it. So it's like a meatball that they boil with a bunch of spices and some sweet fruit in it. So it's like a savory, sweet kind of a snack. Yeah.
Yeah, I found pictures. Looks good.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad, right? I would try it. There's the guy I like. I think it's just called Food in History, and he has a YouTube channel too and whatever. And he finds all these old recipes and tries to make them and tell you what they're like, you know. And it's very interesting. Like for example, the Romans had one kind of a sauce that they used on everything. They used to use it on everything. It was a fish sauce. It was called garum, Garrum, and it was
You mean Romanian people or who?
the Romans, not the Romanians.
Oh,
No,
Roman.
Romans.
Roman. From
Yeah,
ancient
so
Rome.
a lot from ancient Rome. Yeah, and so the most popular sauce in all of ancient Rome was this stuff called garum, and it's almost like fish sauce from Southeast Asia. They take fish and they let it rot and dry in the sun. And so it gets this very strong flavor. But almost all the Roman recipes use this stuff called garum. And they don't make it anymore. It hasn't been made in thousands of years. So, you have to substitute. You have to try to use Asian fish sauce instead or whatever. But yeah, they used a lot of expensive ingredients in their food, actually. Food history is another one of my hobbies. I have a lot of books on food history.
Yeah, I treat to food much easier. I think food is just carbohydrates. The three components. The main
Proteins,
carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates,
Protein.
Dairy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, those kinds of things. Vegetables, right? Yeah. So, yeah. When I cook, I don't think about those things at all. I only think about flavor. That's all I think about.
Flavor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm different in this.
Yeah. Well, again, that's another reason I think food is interesting, because when you look at food through history, you see how it's different. For example, when you ask a Chinese person, what did you have to eat today? They will say, I had some rice and I had some pork and I had some vegetables. They describe it in a very, very basic way, right?
But
Now,
actually, that was some delicious dishes, right?
right,
They
yeah.
described it
That's
like that.
right. But the reason why is because in America, we have a saying. We say, some people live to eat and some people eat to live. And so the difference is when you live to eat, if you're eating to live, you're just eating anything. I don't care what it is. I just need food. I need energy. That's it. It's just energy, right? But when you live to eat, you love food. You want it to be the best. You want to talk about it. You want to experience it and whatever. So this is something that I talk about with my Chinese students sometimes, is I will tell them, hey, when you talk about your food, describe it more deliciously. Don't just talk about it in plain terms. But that's a historical, cultural thing. In Chinese, they don't use it too much anymore, but they have a phrase. Sometimes when they say hello, they say, 你吃了吗?
Yeah, 你吃了吗?
Yeah, which means have you eaten yet?
And actually, they don't need to answer this question.
That's right.
Sometimes, right?
That's right.
Sometimes they answer, sometimes that doesn't.
That's right. Yeah. But again, why do they say have you eaten? Because there was a time when maybe you didn't. Maybe no, I didn't eat yet today. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
is it like WhatsApp in English, or it's different?
I think it used to be similar to just like what's up. It's just another way to say hello, right?
But sometimes on WhatsApp, I don't need to answer like what's up.
Yeah, no. When somebody says what's up, you can just say nothing.
Just like hi, what's up?
Yeah,
like hi sometimes.
Yeah. Right? What's up just means what is happening. What are you doing? Or what's going on? That's all it means. Yeah. And no, you don't have to reply. But again, with the Chinese, it's one of the first things I tell them is practice talking about food, because it's a very good exercise, and it's something that Chinese people are not used to doing. They're not used to describing food in delicious terms. They're just used to describing food in very simple, basic terms.
It's a good idea. I also should do this.
Yeah. Oh, it's great for food. Well, I tell this to all my students because food is something that we eat every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner we eat, so it's consistent. So because it's a consistent thing, it's a great thing to use as practice because it's consistent. So if every day you try to talk about your food, you're getting consistent practice. And food is universal. It's ubiquitous. Everybody talks about food. Everybody has food. So it's good.
And every day it can be different, right?
That's right. And every day it can be different. And think about all the different kinds of food.
New exercise.
Yeah, food is such a beautiful thing. The way your grandma cooks something is different than the way somebody else's grandma cooks the same thing. So it's personal. It's something everybody can relate to. That's why food is such a great topic for language. Any language. Yeah. Well, Dima, I need to get going here, my friend. It's about time for me to go have some lunch, but it was a pleasure to see you again, a pleasure to talk to you. And again, I truly do appreciate seeing you, after so many years now, even. It's great. That matters to me tremendously. That makes me feel like I am moving forward, like I am developing something, like I do have purpose, So I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
Because of you, because you are moving, I try to move too. I try to catch you up.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works, Always surround yourself with people who are better than you, and you will always be better for it. That's the secret to getting better, is be around people who want to be better. I think it's a very important part in life is if you want to do great things, then surround yourself with people who are doing great things. So, all right, Dima, thank you so much for coming and talking to me. I'll see you next time, okay? Don't be a stranger.
Sure.
All right, take care, my friend. I'll see you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Right, Vincent said, so we said 你吃了吗 because we didn't used to have food. That's what I'm saying, is in Chinese history, there was a time period where maybe not everybody did have food. Maybe they didn't eat. So to ask if you've eaten is a way to say, I hope you've eaten, right? Like, I hope you had some food. That was the way. But obviously they have plenty of food for the most part now, right? So now it's just a greeting. But it shows the cultural difference. It shows a cultural difference in how we look at food. For many Americans, food is a luxury. It's a way to show that you are rich, because poor people eat just to eat. Rich people eat to love the food. So if you just eat something, it's like, you feel like you're poor. But if you get a steak and you make something delicious and you really make some delicious food, maybe you are a poor person, but you can eat like a rich person. Right? So that's why it's just different. It's just different. All right. Okay, guys, I need to get going. I'm sorry if I didn't get a chance to talk with you, but it was nice to talk with a few of you again. I'll be back on Monday. I need to go work on my book now, so I'll be back on Monday. And yeah, you guys should follow me. If you haven't followed me yet, here's my YouTube channel. You can follow me on my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on my website. The book is about my teaching methods for English, for language. I'm working on a book about all of my teaching ideas. But it's hard. I really want to do it, though. I will finish it, even if it's on my deathbed. I'll find a way to finish it. Okay, I have to go, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you for following. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye-bye.